Did you know that April was Child Abuse Prevention Month? Stay tuned to learn more about it on this episode of Inspire Iredell.
Welcome to Inspire Iredell. I'm Megan.
I'm Anna.
Today we are glad to have Tonya with us from Pharos Parenting. Welcome, Tonya.
Thank you.
So Tonya is the executive director, has been for over 5 years now, and in the nonprofit world for 17, so it's quite a long time there. She is a native to North Carolina and is an alum of UNCW. Go Seahawks.
Right, woo!
Yay. Even as a child there now, too.
I do.
That's awesome.
She'll be graduating soon, so
that's great.
Exciting.
Well, April's Child Abuse Prevention Month, so that's why we've got you here today. So we're excited to have you talk to us. And
thank you for having
me.
We
also have this great partnership at Iredell with the Birthplace, our maternity unit. So glad to have you.
Thanks. Yeah. I'm excited to be here.
So Pharos is pretty unique, right? So there's nothing like it in really Iredell County.
No.
Parenting is hard.
You can say that again, or like 500 times.
Yeah.
Every day.
Every day. No matter the age, right?
No matter the age.
That's right.
We have all different ages here. So what is Pharos? How did it start?
So Pharos is a child abuse prevention agency. At our heart, that's what we do. Our mission is to educate parents and give them better parenting skills and teach them positive parenting techniques so that you're never in a situation where you end up in an abusive or neglectful situation. So many of our clients come from homes when they were growing up, that's how their parents did it. And they really don't know any better. They were never modeled a better way to parent. So, spanking and yelling is the only way that they know how to discipline. And so, generationally, that kind of follows that path. So our goal is to get in there and teach a different way and break that generational cycle. And it's not that people set out to be a child abuser or, mean to lose control, but it is just what happens when you don't have the techniques and the skills to stay in control. So our goal is, to teach them those better skills and techniques and kind of present a better model for them to follow. And how did it get started? Oh, let's see. Back in 1987, so we are part of a network of centers called the Exchange Club Centers. Exchange Club is a civic organization, and one of their programs of service is child abuse prevention. And it's actually their national project.
Okay.
And so back in the 80s, they actually opened centers across the country to implement their Parent Aid program, which is an in-home parent education program. And we were one of those centers that they opened back in 1987. So we've been around for a long time in Iredell County. We were known as SCAN, which stood for Stop Child Abuse Now.
I'm sure several people still remember it.
Yes.
SCAN, yeah.
And then in 2020, we rebranded and changed our name to Pharos Parenting. Pharos is Greek for lighthouse. And so we use that imagery because it's a guiding light for parents, and it's kind of a beacon. So we changed our name and rebranded in 2020, but we still have the same mission and the same programs. We've expanded and we do a lot more now, but we've never changed our mission and our core programs. So that's kind of how we got started was through the Exchange Club network. There's only 4 in the state of North Carolina that that can offer Parent Aid, and you have to be an Exchange Club center in order to offer that program. And it is by far our most successful program because of the long-term nature of it, the one-on-one. So it is unique, and that was where I was going with that. There's only 4 in the state. The next closest one is Winston-Salem. So it's not just unique to Iredell County, but all of our surrounding counties, they don't have access to that. So we have started serving, if Catawba County calls us, or Davie, or Alexander, or now North Mecklenburg, we still try to serve those folks because they don't have something like that in their area. And we want to be able to help any family that needs help or is willing to change and get help. So we hate to turn people down just because they happen to live over the, Iredell County line in Alexander. So
Right.
So that's a little background.
So Pharos is particularly near and dear to our hearts here at Iredell because we have this awesome partnership with the Birthplace that Megan had previously mentioned. So can you kind of tell our listeners a little bit about that?
Yes. So we are so excited. Several years ago, more than 5 years ago, because was just getting started when I started there. And Susan White, who is our Best Beginnings Program Director now, had this vision to be able to really reach out to brand new moms and get our information into their hands. And so it started with baby steps, and we created little...
Baby steps.
No pun intended. Actually, I should say pun intended,
Yes.
maybe. And so we created little bags that we could just give to every mom that delivered at Iredell. And it had some information. It had some... information about our programs, but also developmental information that they could take home and use right away, like what to expect, milestones at 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, activities you can do with your baby at 3 months and at 6 months and at 9 months, because you think that they're just newborns and they have, you don't need to do anything with them, but that's not true. Like hearing your voice and tummy time and all these things are so important for their development and the learning. And so we gave them some information like that with some other goodies in the bag. And we've been handing those out at Iredell and now Lake Norman for several years. Then we started a parenting class meant for new and expecting parents, which we partnered with Iredell Memorial as well to do with their Pampered Pregnancy classes. So we actually served as one of the weeks of their class and taught.
I took that class.
When you were pregnant?
I was pregnant, yeah.
Awesome. So we talk about the first year of parenting and what to expect in that class. So that was kind of a workshop for us. So we started that, and we just sort of have been growing this Best Beginnings program. But ultimately the goal that Susan had, and it's taken 5 years to get here, was to be able to go in and talk to every single mom that delivered at the hospital and be able to have a chance to not only tell them about who we are and what we offer and let them know that we're here to help in a supportive way, that we're not investigative and we're not accusing, but we're here if you feel like you need that support. But also it gives us a chance to have that conversation with them and ask, do you have support at home? Do you need anything? And if so, do you know what resources are available to you in this county? Do you have knowledge of child care or child rearing? And did you, if you've never had a younger sibling and this is your first child and you were never around kids, it's intimidating when you have had those things to take a newborn home. But when it's, you're like, suddenly I'm in charge of this human being and it's life or death, it's very intimidating. But when you haven't had any of that, or if you're a particularly young mother, that's scary. And so for someone to come in and say, do you have questions or concerns? And they can open up and say, oh my gosh, I'm scared to death. I don't know what I'm doing. It gives us a chance to say, you know what, in a couple weeks when you're home, we're going to follow up with you and see how you're doing. And we can come into the home at that point and work with you. So for us, this is true prevention because we are getting ahead before anything ever happens, before they get to the point where they're creating bad habits and routines at home, or not creating routines. And so we can get ahead of that and never, have to wait until we get a referral from DSS when the child is 6. So for us, because we are about prevention, this was the ultimate goal, is to get in front of every mother and be able to ask and pull that information from her. And I pulled the numbers yesterday, so we just started officially visiting the middle of February at Iredell Health. We have seen, as of yesterday, 89 mothers.
That's amazing.
I just got chills. That's amazing.
That's so great.
So 89 moms, and that doesn't include the dads that we've talked with or the babies, because some of them had twins. We were just counting a mom. So 89 visits in a room. And the vast majority of them absolutely accept our offer to follow up with them in 2 weeks. And so at that follow-up, when the euphoria has worn off and they're not, I'm so happy I had a baby. Now they're covered in spit up and haven't showered in 7 days. And then when we call and say, hey, how's it going? Do you need any help? That's when we're going to get a true response from them to say, yes, I need help. Come in and visit or whatever. And then, and it may just be a couple of visits to make sure everything's hunky-dory, and that's fine. And that's what's so great about our program, is that it's customizable. So every family is going to be different. And it may be one visit, it might be 2 years of visits to make sure that we have really gotten that, routine set and answered any questions. And it might be a couple of visits now, and then when the child turns 2, they may call us back and say, now I'm in a different stage and I need help. And we can go back and do that as well. So it's been a wonderful partnership. And I think it's not only great for the community to have that, offering or that value add at the hospital when they deliver there, to have that support, but it ultimately, long term, we're going to see the effects of this years down the road because we've given that good base of parenting now for every mom that delivers at Iredell in our community. So I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, we are so excited at Iredell to have that program, and so grateful to Pharos for bringing that in. And what a great thing for the community to be able to have that. And it's important to say too, do people pay for this program?
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention that it's completely free.
Yes, as are all of the Pharos programs.
That's right.
All of the offerings, right?
So is there an income limit? No. So anybody can come.
No qualifications at all. If you are a parent and you have a child and you call us, we will help you. And we don't ask any of those questions. We do not want that to be a barrier for anyone to get help if they need it. And our parent aid program, our in-home program, we go to you. So that even eliminates a transportation barrier for most of the community that might need it. And our parenting classes, which we hold at our facility on Davie Avenue, they're free as well. And we offer those in a rotating basis every 10 weeks. So it's a 10-week class. And then, so when we finish class, we start again. So we're actually starting we started our first class last night, general parenting, and I think all the other classes start next week. So, those are free to enroll, and we have everything from newborn to teenagers to a dad's class to a co-parenting class.
Co-parenting, that's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Very much needed. And this will be our second session of that. It's been very popular. So we're excited to have that.
And I'm just going to put in a little plug. So as Tonya is aware of this, but, I took a class. I have a 13-year-old who I love dearly, but I took a class, I guess it was about 2 years ago now, simply because I was just like, man, parenting is hard. It's so hard. And it's not like we had specific issues and it's not like I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to abuse my child. You know, I wasn't in that area. It was just that I was like, is more so for me, to be able to, I took a class that helped me learn techniques of kind of dealing with my own emotions when she decides to either ignore me or be sassy or whatever it might be, when she's just being a typical preteen teenager. Yes. Sometimes it's like we joke about, I think parents a lot joke about there's no manual for parenthood, but I feel like if everybody would take these parenting classes, I wish that I had started when she was from the toddler classes and just taken all the ones that I could, because I feel like it would have made me a better parent from the get-go. But also, it improves your relationship with your children so much. Right. And that particular class talks a lot about using logic and empathy. And so it's nothing like, oh, you just let your children walk all over you. But it's almost about, I don't want to say being in control, but kind of rather than you feeling like your children are controlling the situation, right? You feel like you're not pulling your hair out so much. And anyway, it's just such a great class. Didn't cost anything to take it, and there were people from all walks of life in that class with me. And it was very helpful to hear different people's situations and hear how they handled things and talk things out with the instructors. And
a support group.
Yes, it is.
It does turn into that.
A support group / therapist that you're not paying for. Right? Yeah, and I still find myself driving down the road and something happens, right? In fact, just this morning, right? We had a little bit of an argument in the car on the way to school, and in my head, I'm having things repeating from the class going through my head 2 years later, just of things that I have to remind myself,
So I think, I know personally as well, I felt like I had a pretty good handle on parenting until they got to the teenage years. And then I was like, I'm out of my league. This is...
right?
Yeah. I woke up every day feeling defeated and scared of what I was going to encounter with this demon that suddenly lived in my house. And she tore me down. She hurt my feelings. I've never been as hurt as I was with my own child. And she was going through her own set of stuff, right? Like it's a totally normal thing. It's hormonal and the way that, and I know now, I didn't have Pharos at the time because I didn't even know they existed. But I know now that the way that I dealt with it was completely wrong.
Yeah.
And she couldn't at 15 years old work through her emotions and be an adult and make decisions of how to handle things differently because she was 15 and she was just going on emotion. I could have.
Right.
And I didn't. And I tried to, manhandle the situation all the time and lecture and I realize now that I gave her no voice. And that was my mistake. So it would have that was my oldest, and it has made a huge difference with my next two because I've learned those skills.
Yeah.
So, I wish I had taken it when she was 13, And so that's a really good example of, it helped, like you said, it was more for me, I think, because I was miserable for those 2 years and I would have been so much happier and calmer, and my stress level would have been down if I had been able to handle the situation with correct techniques.
Yes.
But I made it worse. And I think that's where it comes in. And it does not mean if you take a class that you're a bad parent.
Nope.
Lori Trosick, our clinical director, told me when I first started, and I have loved this analogy and I say it all the time, you can drive a good car that gets you from point A to point B, and it's perfectly good. It does everything you need it to do. But you can always drive a better car. And that's what you have to think about with parenting. You can be a good parent, but you can always be a better parent. So taking these classes is only going to make you a better parent.
Yeah.
It's going to make you think things through in a different way and react in a different way and handle your emotions. And then you're modeling that for your child, who then starts to handle their emotions better as well.
Right.
So it's really it's a fantastic program, and I'm not biased.
I'm biased. I took it. I'll preach it all day long. Right?
Yes.
It's so, and it's interesting because we mentioned, that Pharos has so many different classes and some for toddler ages. And I used to tell people, you could not pay me $1 million to relive ages 2 and 3. But now I'm like, actually, with the Pharos classes, maybe you could. I still want to be paid. But, I feel it makes me feel empowered as a parent to be a better parent.
That's it.
Right? And
it gives you the confidence to be able to handle all those situations instead of feeling defeated and just, exhausted at every day handling your toddler. You feel like you have control over the situation and you know what to do. So you have that confidence. You know why they're acting the way they are. So you know exactly how to direct them. It empowers you. That's the perfect word.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I think we've kind of talked about some of the things that you learn in classes, but what about the toddler class? What would you learn in a class like that?
Oh, well,
I have a toddler. Well, she's 4 now. I don't know if I can call her a toddler.
She's still a toddler.
Yeah. Oh, man. So honestly, this is not just in the toddler class, but speaking of giving power, giving choices to your children, sometimes we're brick walls, right? And we're like, put your shoes on.
Yeah.
You're late for the bus. Hurry up. Come on. You're going to miss the bus. Get your shoes on. Did you brush your teeth yet? That's what our mornings consist of, right? And so if you give choices or you ask them and let them have a little bit more power, like, what do you need to do to make it to the bus on time? Well, then they have to think, well, I don't have my shoes on yet, and I haven't finished breakfast. So then that gives them a little bit more problem-solving skills, but it also it's not as negative. They don't feel as defeated. They don't feel like they've been beaten down, but it's making them think, this is what I need to do. And then they do it on their own. You don't have to yell at them or force them. So giving them a little bit of a choice will help that. And then if they're being defiant, I don't want to put my shoes on. If it is a 3-year-old toddler, you can give them a choice of, well, you can either sit down here and I'll help you put your shoes on, or you can put them on yourself, and but we still have to go either way. But you're giving them a choice of how they're putting their shoes on, and suddenly they feel like they have power.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, well, I'll put them on myself. And then they think they won, but guess who actually won?
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Empowering the parent, not
Right.
just the child.
Yes.
But so that's a great tool. And then my favorite one is still the slot machine or broken vending machine, which has been we've talked about a lot, and it's a lot of people already know it, but I think it's so important as a parent for consistency.
Okay.
And so the idea is that you want to be a broken vending machine and not a slot machine, because if you go to a slot machine and you put a quarter in and you pull the arm and the wheels turn and you don't win, what do?
You keep doing it.
You put another quarter in, you pull the arm, you try again, because you're hoping at some point when you pull that arm, you're going to win.
Yeah.
And you might. And, then that's even more reason to keep putting quarters in, because you won one time. But if you go to a vending machine and you put your dollar in and you push the button and the drink doesn't come out, what do? You don't put another dollar in.
Shake the machine. Just
Yeah.
kidding.
Well, that's true. But you don't put another dollar in because you know it's broken. It didn't give you a drink machine, and putting another dollar in, it's not going to give you a drink.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So you, as a parent, need to be the vending machine and never give in, and never, when they're acting out, if you say no, 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 and then one time you say yes, well, you just become a slot machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So staying consistent with your routine, with your answers to, can I please have the sucker before dinner? No, you can't. Please, please, please. I'm going to throw a fit. I'm going to, okay, fine, this one time. Well, you're the slot machine.
Now.
And then guess what's going to happen the next day at dinner? They're going to do the same thing because they won. So remaining consistent and saying no with your routine. No desserts or no sweets before supper. No matter what, even if they're throwing a fit, but that's going to eliminate the fit in future days for supper. So consistency is huge, and that's part of what we teach in the toddler class and really all ages.
And the class that I took, we talked a lot about that too.
Yes.
And they talked about having one-liners, like things that you can just say really quickly, which are the things that are constantly in my head.
Yep.
And they talk about in that, for example, if they're asking for something before dinner and they know the rule, sometimes you can give them the answer. And then if they keep repeating it, just, what did I say? And then you almost become a broken record of just, well, what did I say? And for me, I don't even say that again. I'm just like, I already gave you my answer.
Yeah.
Right. But then, right, where some of those parenting techniques come in too is helping okay, what do you have to do? Because sometimes I might have to take myself out of the situation.
Yes.
If it's going to another room or whatever it might be, just to make sure that I don't break my consistency rule.
That's it.
Right. So you got to know yourself, and there's a lot of introspection, I think, in those classes to learn about the things that you've got to change.
You learn a lot about yourself. And what's great is most of the classes are not just useful for your children.
Yes.
They're people skills that you can use everywhere, whether it's with your coworkers or,
Using
She gave you a choice. Either do the podcast or do the podcast.
pretty much.
But yeah, so you can use these. It's people skills. It's not just children's skills. So it's very useful
So
in life.
speaking of life and, just longevity of what you learn, I'm sure you've had several really great success stories. Do you have a favorite?
Yes. I do have a favorite. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's one that stands out to me. We have so many, and I call them small victories because some of them are not like the big grand story. Mm-hmm. Some of them are just little small victories that we know a parent has been really, really struggling with. And when they overcome that small victory, it's just, it's very satisfying. And that's why we do what we do and why we come back every day. But yes, one that stands out was a mom who, and this has been several years ago now, probably 3 years ago, came to us through a referral because she needed help with a different discipline. So she yelled and spanked, and her child was having behavior issues that she attributed to his behavior issues, which is true. His behavior was an issue, but what we have to teach our parents is that many times when you change your behavior, they will change theirs. Yeah. So she would spank him multiple times a day. she told our parent aide when she first met her that she knew she was hard on him, but she must not be hard enough because he was still so badly behaved. So that's kind of like our first, that's not good, because you're obviously spanking harder and harder as you feel like that's going to be more effective, right? And that's how you end up in an abuse situation. Excuse me. Mother and her siblings, so her history is that they were all sexually abused. Not many months before we met her, her youngest brother had committed suicide, probably due to the trauma of the sexual abuse that they encountered. She lived in a rundown mobile home that needed constant repairs. She had an old beat-up vehicle that barely got her from point A to point B, that constantly needed repairs. She worked temp jobs because of her son's child care situation. And so she didn't make a lot of money. She was a single mom. And so she had a history of trauma. She was repeating that history, essentially. She had behavior issues. She was in poverty, like all of these things. And so, when we meet a family like that, we aren't just going in immediately and teaching parenting skills. We're trying to help stabilize them. So we connect them to resources. We try to help them fill all of those basic needs first so that they are stable, because we know that the parenting skills then will last a lot longer and will actually be accepted if they're stable. Because if you're worried about where your next meal's coming from, you can't learn how to do a proper timeout,
Right.
So our parent aide worked with her for about 2 years.
Wow.
And that is what's so great about Pharos is it's customized to the family. And some families only need us for 6 months and some need us for 2 years. And she was definitely one that had enough going on that she needed more help. So at close of the case 2 years later, Mom had learned how to do, she used timeout and loss of privilege for discipline and never spanked anymore. She used a calm voice. She would sit down and make eye contact with her son and, helped give him choices, but never lost her temper, kept her voice low, which helped him keep his voice low and kept his emotions regulated. She had gotten him in therapy. And enrolled in a pre-K program. She had gotten a full-time job at a factory. She was able to move into a newer, nicer mobile home. She had gotten a new-to-her car that was more reliable. And the new home that she moved into was near her family. So now she had that social support, which is huge. That's a big part of what we do. So now she had a social support system. And so, she was in a totally different place, new home, better job, better car. Their household was calmer. His behaviors had changed. She was using different techniques and skills. And because we meet with her every week, she had that accountability. And so the parent aide could go in the home and see the difference. Yeah. It wasn't just putting it on a show while we were there visiting. She could see the difference in the home. Things were just better kept. The house was cleaner because Mom wasn't struggling to get through every day.
Right.
So a year after we closed the case, and about a year after that, the parent aide ran into her out in public, and she came up and hugged her and just was so excited to tell her that she was still at the same job, that her son was now in first grade doing really well. She was in counseling for grief counseling and trauma counseling to get over her history. The son was doing speech and occupational therapy and getting the help he needed to get caught up. And, she was she was raving about how good this family was doing. And that is a prime example to me. If we had not had the opportunity to go in there, this mom would be in the same position she was 3 years ago. Yeah. So that is huge. And we were able to do that, go to her and do that all for free and no charge, with the services that we offer. And that's what the community support does for us. Allows us to do that. So that's kind of one of my favorites, because it really just encompasses not just the parenting, but the whole family. Her whole life changed. She's more stable. And now that factory has a much more stable employee too. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it also creates better community capital, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like
her
more
child
quality.
will grow up in a much different environment
Yeah.
and become a different person ultimately
That's
than
right.
they would have.
That's right.
She can be proud of herself.
Story gives me chills.
I know. I was getting it every
it's
time
so
you
amazing.
kept saying
Like,
something else. I'm like, oh my gosh.
yeah. Well, and I think, and you hinted on the community support, and I just want to put a plug in for Pharos that, you are a nonprofit.
Yes.
And you subsist on grants and donations that are made. And so if this is a cause that's near and dear to your heart or, could be, then, there are ways to make donations and support the
Yep.
organization.
And you can go to our website. We have events all year. We need sponsors. We need people to come and, just attend the events because we make money from that too. And we have, annual campaign. Just if you can even make a $30 donation each month, that would make a huge impact on us. Like, give up going out to dinner one night and make that a
you put it like
commitment.
that makes it seem really easy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And that it helps people like this mom, be able to change her life just because you decided not to go to dinner one time a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
We are out of time. That went so fast. Like,
Thank you so much.
Yes.
thank you for having me. I appreciate what you guys do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, it really is just an extension of our mission at Iredell Health Systems to inspire well-being together. It's not about just going and getting your checkup at the doctor. It's really about the whole person, and well-being starts at home.
Yeah.
So if you have a baby at Iredell Memorial Hospital, you will receive a cute little goodie bag with some information and some plug covers.
And you'll see us now.
And yet you'll see them.
You'll visit with us.
You can self-refer. You do not have to have a referral from a doctor or therapist or DSS for this. You can self-refer at pharosparenting.org or give them a call. And it is April. So wear blue and maybe put some pinwheels in your yard as the symbol of child abuse prevention for the whole month of April and all year long too.
Right.
And if you see something, say something. So thank you so much for coming, Tonya. We really appreciate it. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks, guys. Bye.
The content here is for informational and educational purposes only, not for medical advice. Consult your qualified healthcare professional for specific health concerns and questions.